I'm starting to get really upset about this David situation, and the efforts by what I think is David's team, David's supporters, people connected to David, and perhaps even his legal team, to muddy the waters and refocus the blame away from the man who allegedly murdered, essayed, and dismembered a little girl, and towards the little girl's family, basically saying, no, they were such bad parents that the little girl deserved it. They're the reason. They basically created the conditions for David to murder. It's really their fault. They basically were asking for this to happen. I think this line of reasoning is absolutely disgusting, and I've been fighting tooth and nail against this Discord, the r/DaveIdiots, which is the most popular the most popular David Reddit thread, Reddit, subreddit, whatever you want to call it, out right now. But the problem is, and I basically have exposed a bunch of people, I've basically led to 2 mods disappearing that were moderating this subreddit, because I called them out and I said, you guys are specifically protecting David's family. They made it so you're not allowed to say anything bad about David's little brother, right? So you're not allowed to say anything bad about David's little brother who was seen bringing the victim backstage. I'll show you again. So this was the footage, right? This is David's brother, Caleb. There he is, Caleb, taking the little girl who was murdered by his brother backstage. So you're not allowed to talk about this. You're not allowed to mention this. You're not allowed to point the finger at the creep, right, that was taking a minor backstage for his brother. We're not allowed to talk about this over on Dave Idiots. Complete ban talking about David's brother. But what we are allowed to do is absolutely trash Celeste's family, point the finger at the family, and basically absolve David of all criticism. Now, I saw this post today, and I thought this was absolutely disgusting. And this summed up absolutely everything about what I've been saying about Dave Idiots, okay? They're pointing the blame at Celeste's family, and they're trying their best to clean up the situation for David. I think it's his legal team or a PR crisis management team that are doing this, okay? And I'm sure they're watching this. You cooked, right? We've rumbled you guys, and it's only a matter of time before everyone works it out. But this post is absolutely disgusting, and I told you guys before there have been efforts to basically say, oh, because Celeste's family didn't call the police 24/7 non-stop trying to find their daughter, they basically wanted this to happen, right? So now they're saying during Celeste's missing timeline, her mother posted her twice out of 662 posts, 20 plus posts about other missing children. Yes, I counted, right? So this is Dora Hernandez. Celeste Hernandez is my niece, missing this morning. I do not get to classes in Lake Elsinore, California. She's 13 years old. If anyone's seen her, contact me or her parents, Mercedes Martinez, or call the police. Please share the family and friends. We love you. We trust in God that you will appear, and we wait for you, right? So they're saying that this is the mother, and they're saying that basically, see, this is the thing. You're not even allowed to talk about David's brother music being trash, but we're doxing the mother and we're posting her Facebook posts, and we're posting that she was posting about other missing children and not Celeste. There were posters put up all over the neighborhood looking for Celeste, all right? Her child's missing. She's worried about other missing children in the community. What on earth is wrong with this? All right? Nothing wrong with this. They're saying she posted other kids more than her own daughter. Well, so fucking what? She posted her own daughter, right? They had posters all around the neighborhood and she didn't come back. So how much more can you do, right? And that's Celeste. Yes, Celeste was posted. She was posting her own daughter. She was posting other people's children that were missing. She wanted people to find their children like she wanted her child to be found. She had done plenty of posting, right? She'd done plenty of posting. But this is basically somebody saying, I've seen the hate and I've decided to join in. So, just for the record, I think this post is disgusting. The fact that this is allowed on Dave Idiots, but criticism of David's brother for releasing a song capitalizing on the murder of this child, that's not allowed. Can't possibly criticize Caleb. So this clown, probably working for David, said, I had been seeing a lot of hate towards Celeste's family, so I decided to do my own digging to come to my own conclusion. The first picture of Celeste's aunt's post tagging Celeste's mum, so I went to her Facebook. This is 100% Celeste's mum, so I started scrolling all her public posts. And she's super active on Facebook. As I'm scrolling, I start seeing all these posts about missing people and children she reposts. From February 2024 to September 2025, the time Celeste was missing, she only had 2 public posts of Celeste saying she's missing and 662 public posts during that time frame. Over 20 of the posts of people and other people's children who are missing. I found this incredibly weird and sickening. This post is weird and sickening. The amount of public posts you have and only 2 of your missing daughter. Well, what about they went looking for her? What about her calling people and trying to get her back? What about the fact that they apparently contacted David and he lied to them? And you can be an advocate for other people's missing children, but not your own. Well, she was. You've shown at least 2 examples. This is David's team. If your daughter is truly missing, wouldn't you be posting about it every day, asking people for help locating her, keeping her story alive so she doesn't wind up like the thousands of missing children cases that go unsolved? We've all seen kids' parents going on the news having their social media plastered with their missing children until they're found. But what does Celeste mom do in this period her daughter is missing? Post about world events, comedy, and other people's missing children. Yes, people can have a life and other interests while their child's missing. They can't just... What are you talking about? She's posted other things. She wants to help other people find their children. I think the most disturbing thing I've seen is that even if her mum knew about the relationship with David and she was fine with it and had no communication with her daughter, the period where Celeste passed away and literally could not communicate with her, April 2025 to September 2025, her mum does not post a single thing about Celeste and she's pretty active with her public posts. This makes me sick. Who knows what's on her posts to friends? If your daughter's missing, wouldn't you want every single human possible to see it, not just your friends? If you have a child, you get it. If you don't, you may not get it. But I have a child, and Celeste Mum's Facebook looks how a distant classmate of Celeste in elementary school Facebook should look. 2 posts, good enough, but I barely knew her. But your own daughter, 662 public posts from February 2024 to September 2025 to a Celeste. 2, let that sink in. Yes, I literally sat there scrolling, counting. It's disgusting what the mother's doing. The mother didn't post on... Are you joking? The mother didn't post on Facebook about it enough. They literally had missing posters going around the neighborhood. She was literally in touch with the police. Apparently, she was in touch with David asking about her, and David was lying to them. And it's the mother. So you're directing your attention, your outrage. You're disgusted at the parents. Not David. Not a single mention of what David did in this post. It's disgusting, and in my opinion, I think David's team are responsible for this, and they've co-opted this whole server, and it's disgusting, all right? She wasn't posting Celeste because she knew where she was, LMAO. So all these people in the comments, bear in mind, they keep doing these posts and it's eliciting a bunch of people in the comments basically rising up and rallying on behalf of David to point the finger at everybody except the fucking creep who allegedly killed this little girl and chopped her up and was essaying her. All right? Not a shred of outrage. Isn't it suspicious? No outrage for David in this. All right? And the people around her knew. We saw the teacher video 2 days after she was found. So everyone from the neighborhood would be like, what are you on about? Isn't she with that singer boy in LA? What, ETA, what are the comments on those posts? I kind of don't blame you don't blame them. Don't blame the locals who apparently knew everything. I blame the mom. It's complicated. Why? Don't even explain. All right. It's disgusting. All right. It's disgusting. What's going on in this subreddit is outrageous. Right. People saying that the parent must have allowed Celeste to travel internationally. I'm still got questions about that, but honestly, people saying the poor baby deserves so much better. Yeah, from David, all right? The parents were trying to find her, all right? Dude, I was low-key just giving the parents some sort of empathy because they lost their daughter, but only 2 posts out of all of that is extremely disappointing. They were literally trying to find her and calling the police. I mean, I would understand. So these is all astroturfing, right? Like these types of comments is all people basically just trying to latch onto the post and spread the narrative, all right? I mean, I would understand that maybe you weren't active on social media due to your daughter being missing, but being active too and sharing posts about other children and only 2 about your own daughter is honestly disappointing. You don't know what on earth she was doing behind the scenes. Let's say she knew that the kid was with David and she was trying to work with social services to get him. You don't have a clue. Right? So no disrespect to Celeste's family. A better load of disrespect's coming. I felt pretty off with Celeste's family in terms of vibes in this whole case. No, not their vibes. Oh, the family of a murdered child don't have the right vibes for you. I'm sorry, Reddit commenter. Oh, the family of a murdered child didn't have the right vibes. Okay. Mainly because of how silent they've been, releasing very few statements. It seems as if they, the whole family, weren't even that close. I don't know whether it's me who feels off with this whole thing. You know what's off? You know what's off? A grown man on Fortnite grooming a child. You know what's off? A grown man having a 13-year-old child come over and stay 3 nights for Valentine's Day. You know what's off? You know what's off? Ordering 2 chainsaws to your crib to dismember a child you murdered. That's off. That feels super off. Genuinely, I've only seen Wendy speaking about Celeste openly, and that's all. But a minute ago, this subreddit was allowing posts saying that she was mentally challenged. Now Wendy is the only person that was standing up for Celeste. It's nonsense. I don't know if Celeste's whole family was entirely horrible. I saw some video on call logs from Celeste's parents as they were calling to obtain information on Celeste and her whereabouts at the duration of her passing. But didn't her parents take away her phone as well back then? I'm pretty sure they knew about David and the relationship and they tried to prevent it. Whatever it is, R.I.P. Celeste Rivas Hernandez, F. David, may rot in eternal suffering. All right, about time. This is the OP. That's exactly it. She only had 4 posts and 2 were Celeste. Okay, makes sense, but 662 while your daughter is reported missing and just 2? No mention of David. How many messages how many posts RIP posts did David do about Celeste after she died? None. How many like respectful, information David would actually give to the family of this murdered little girl after she died when they were asking? Oh, none. He was lying to them. Oh, okay. I just think this is so disgusting. I think the family removed missing posters after she was found dead because people were using it to contact and harass them. I remember seeing loads more when I initially checked. So this is like a very reasonable thing to say. Well, the family wanted to take down. She might have taken down the posts about Celeste that were there before. You only just looked up recently, months on. She might have had 5,000 posts about Celeste that she took down because she said, she's dead. I'm going to take this down. I don't want this to become a source of harassment. All right. And so the OP says original posts are still there. She didn't remove them. She has posts on Celeste's birthday about some astrology thing. And the day Celeste's body was discovered, she was posting another missing person and some other random posts. So if she was going to remove anything, it would be those posts because it looks really weird. I don't think she deleted anything. I think she's been off Facebook since her body was recovered. Like, excuse me if the woman whose body got recovered chopped up in a Tesla wanted a little time off social media. She probably had hope. She was probably hoping that other children, she might have been hoping if I help someone else find their missing child, maybe God will bless me with my daughter coming back. You don't have a clue. All right. You don't have a clue. So this one is saying Celeste, I think all of these, and bear in mind, this is an edited comment, right? I think so many of these comments are astroturfing, and it's so interesting, right? It's so interesting that it's like, Celeste was a baby. I'm so distraught. This is why people are saying the parents. This is why people saying the parents are faultless, and what happened is so strange. She was 13 when she died, like 12 when she went missing. That's not true. 14. February 2024. No, murdered in April 25. Didn't she have her 13th birthday allegedly with David as she was missing? She'd run away multiple times. Her parents seemed so sketchy. Everything. So all of this for the parents, the dysfunctional, maybe neglectful family. There's not really anything bad to say about David in any of these comments, right? This subreddit needs to be shut down. It does need to be shut down because it's been co-opted by David's team and it's just disgusting. I've been preaching this, but some people around here like giving the parents a free pass. Yeah, because their daughter was murdered. They had nothing to do with it. I suspect they're neglectful parents themselves. There's no excuses for them. Wendy was the only relative who gave a damn about Celeste while she was alive and even after her death. But 2 days ago, everybody in the subreddit was trying to say she was mentally challenged, right? It's bad. So, look, all right. It's toxic empathy. People can't fathom these parents are not screaming from the rooftop to bring their child home, so they make excuses for them. To me as well, it's clear as day they weren't protecting her. They were not advocating. David is allegedly a creep who chopped her up and stabbed her to death. What? They took her phone away. He was paying kids in the school. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. This is astroturfing, right? This is astroturfing. Such good work looking everything up. I was curious about her social media behavior. Her mother's actions are exactly why This comment grounded my gears. Her mum's actions are exactly why David felt like he could get away with killing her. It's the mum's fault David killed her. Are you joking? This is the most disgusting comment I have ever seen in my life. He thought her own family didn't love her, so no one would go out looking for her. So they're saying, yeah, if only they basically were asking for it, right? If the family showed more love publicly on Facebook to the daughter, then David wouldn't have felt like he could kill her. You know, David just thought she was just a piñata that was just fair game to just stab to death because of the way the mother was treating her. Basically, it's the parents' fault. Like, who could blame David? It's not David's fault. Who could possibly... This is disgusting, okay? Disgusting. Very good point. I hadn't even thought of that. Except the complaint literally explains the motive was to prevent Celeste from assisting as a witness in the case against him because he was under investigation. So he definitely did know people were looking for her, since that's the reason why he killed her, according to the state. But they don't want to talk about that. Okay. So look, I could go on and on and on, but this whole thing is just straight. Not a single bad thing to say about David. It's all blaming the victim and the victim's family, right? They clearly failed Celeste in several ways. Nope, David's a murderer, allegedly, right? I think some posts have been removed by her because people found the family's Facebook. She obviously came from an unstable family. I think it's important to be careful about how we speculate in regards to the family, especially though there are a lot of calls for concern. As others mentioned, her situation was a bit different as they did know where she was, it seems, aka with David. But it's not an excuse, it's just the truth. Celeste had a rough home life. I do believe Jesus is not her biological father. Jesus. There were some issues with that, but that's another story. I will say as well, unfortunately, if your child or friend is in an abusive, unhealthy relationship, there's only so much you can do. It really was up to the police to hold David accountable earlier on, or they failed. It's not a black and white situation. Yeah, let's just make a bunch of assumptions about a family whose daughter was murdered. You people make me sick, and it's disrespectful to Celeste and her family. Who got arrested for murder? Not her parents. So these are actually like genuine people that are commenting the right things on here. And then you got more astroturfing underneath. Yeah, no, her family was negligent as fuck. She spent days with a grown-ass man, had a relationship with him. Everyone knew and allowed it. Oh, so it's, no, it's family's fault. It's family's fault, right? Agreed. They might have known she ran off with a boy. People act like it's so easy to force a child to come back home when they don't want to. This is not her mum. So some people have been saying that that's actually not her mum, right? So this post, the astroturfing going on here, is just like, they might not even have the right one. People are saying, oh, biological mum or adopted mum, she's the legal mum, so she's responsible. So anyway, right, regardless, who even cares? People saying, how do you know that's her mum and not some other person with the name Mercedes Martinez? It doesn't matter whether it's not her mum, because the purpose of this post is to basically just deflect attention away from David, who allegedly murdered this little girl, and to force it onto the family, to basically infer and suggest that it's their fault. It's their fault. They wanted this to happen. They lined this up. So look, I'm just scrolling through, and it's just so much like they only cared when it was convenient. I understand this, but what if David was texting the mom on her phone to make it seem as if she was fine and alive for those 5 months and just with friends and not wanting to see her? I don't know, just a what if. I don't believe this what if anymore, right? I think it would have been mentioned in the police report. They state the parents reached out to David and he lied about knowing where she was. So I think it would be mentioned as charges. I just looked it up, and there's charges like deceased identity theft, criminal impersonation, tampering with evidence. And I think they insinuate that her phone's activity stopped after that night at David's house. So I don't think he did that. Yeah. I'm so sick of people coddling their parents. They did not protect their daughter, full stop. I heard so many people claiming that they thought it would be a way for their daughter to always be cared for by allowing her to date a celebrity with money. Cap, because they took her phone away and he paid someone to give her a phone. Like, it's their job to take care of their middle school age daughter. They tried to. Not a random adult man, no matter how wealthy he is. It's their job to protect their daughter from predators. They did. Apparently the mum was sleeping in the room with the daughter, with Celeste, so that she couldn't climb out the window and leave, which clearly they didn't care to do. Lies. I'm sure her family's hurt by this loss, but there's no point in sugarcoating things. They didn't do enough to protect that girl, and because of that, she's dead. Not David. No. Nothing to do with David. Not because of them. Right? Disgusting. I can't actually take it anymore, right? Okay? Barely anything positive for Celeste's family. Now look, okay? I just want to admonish the D4VD's subreddit. I think it's disgusting. I think everybody that's running this subreddit right now, all of the moderators should be ashamed of themselves. And by which moderators? These moderators. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. You should resign. You should all resign and just not let anyone post here anymore. But you won't do that, because I suspect some of you guys are working for David's team. But anyway, I'm just going to give you an antidote to all of this nonsense. Okay, I'm just going to set the record straight. David, allegedly, is the reason Celeste is dead. He groomed, essayed, murdered her, and dismembered her. David is responsible, allegedly. All right? In my opinion, David's responsible. What is going on here? I keep getting recommended all this stuff, like all this stuff. I'm not interested in all this stuff, all right? I was doing a bit of research for something. Definitely not buying a $200,000 watch. Give me a break. I need to get my ads fixed. Anyway, okay, so let's just like go back and talk about actually realistically should Celeste's parents be blamed. So a month after Celeste's body was discovered, TMZ reported the parents had actually contacted the police multiple times. Sheriff's deputies were called to her home 11 times in a year, nearly every month, and 1.3 times in one day. Okay, so basically deputies were called to her house numerous times. They visited a bunch of times. That was the same day as surveillance video TMZ obtained from a liquor store showed her running away. So she's literally getting caught in surveillance video running away, and same day that people are basically like, she's going missing, getting caught on surveillance camera, and the cops are visiting the home 3 times trying to find out where she went and what's going on, right? And the cops are trying to get to the bottom of this. Celeste's family are going to a liquor store to get the footage. So you mean to tell me the family didn't care about her, but they've got the cops out there 3 times in a day when she runs away. They're doing their own detective work, going to a liquor store to get this footage. This surveillance footage was apparently retrieved by Celeste's sister. How I got here. Also, just for the record, everyone say, "Oh, you're milking it, making money off of this, bro." We just saw an ad. You just saw an ad for. You just saw a 5-second unskippable ad for TMZ footage of the little girl who went missing. So just get off my case, bro. So this is the footage, right? And so they're saying that Celeste's sister actually went to the gas station that you see in a moment. She's literally running away from her home, and the family are moments behind her. They're just behind her, trying to find out where she is. They're going to this liquor store doing independent investigation. They're doing investigation the LAPD isn't even doing. They're going to a liquor store and getting this footage, and it's ending up with TMZ. Celeste literally running away from home, and they've got the cops called out 3 times in one day. They're doing their own investigation. And you mean to tell me it's the family's fault? It's a joke. It is an absolute joke, right? So the records state almost all the calls were minor crime investigation, with the exception of one of them being suspicious circumstances. Police took reports on 4 of the incidents, and cops had planned to do follow-ups. The dispositions on the rest of the calls were not available. 2 of the 3 visits when 3 people called out were to Celeste's home, and another was to the liquor store. So it sounds like the family had gone to the liquor store, got the footage, and called the police back and said, you need to get back down here. So you mean to tell me that this family, it's their fault Celeste died? You mean to tell me that? This is crazy. I need to turn my ad blocker back on. You really mean to tell me the family didn't do nothing, all right? Police responded to Celeste's home at 9:29 p.m. on April 5th, half an hour after her family reported her missing. So as soon as she's going missing, they're calling the police, and the police are attending the home, and they're having conversations with the police, right? So you want to tell me it's all the family's fault? They laid the situation for David to do this, except they're literally chasing her down the street, trying to get to the bottom of this, right? It's crazy. So some people just don't take no for an answer, right? Because it was reported that Celeste's parents were cleared in the 2024 child neglect probe. Obviously, the caveat is that, Celeste herself was no longer alive to actually contribute to this probe. And so it was essentially cleared. They cleared them of any wrongdoing in lieu of the fact that Celeste wasn't there to give any information. Okay, the parents were investigated over allegations of child neglect and abuse about a year before David allegedly murdered her. But law enforcement found no wrongdoing. Okay. When she went missing from the family home in Lake Elsinore, the Riverside Sheriff's Office opened an investigation that year. That was a couple of weeks before she was reported missing the second time. So they're reporting her missing numerous times, and the police are just 10 steps behind. An unknown called to complain. TMZ said the person expressed concern about a juvenile who ran away. So all types of people, and let's not forget, everybody seems to just forget that, like, this family, I don't know what their visa immigration situation is. We're in this climate where you got ICE, they're grabbing people up off the street, deporting them and stuff. So they doing everything they can, and I actually do have sympathy. Not everyone wants to talk to the cops. Not everyone really is thinking that the cops is gonna be looking out for them in the right ways. So honestly, I don't think we can really fault them, all right? So obviously it does say, one of the issues was that they couldn't interview Celeste. She couldn't be located. They couldn't determine if a crime had occurred. But at the same time, that doesn't prove anything. That doesn't mean that a crime had occurred. That doesn't mean they were neglectful. Maybe it was a bit of a rough, shoddy home. Maybe she wasn't having the best time at home. Maybe they were poor. But it doesn't matter, bro, because David is the person who's responsible, paying off classmates to give her a phone to get around the parents. The parents were doing everything they can. Prosecutors say Celeste returned home to Lake Elsinore 2 days after David was contacted. Her parents took her phone. David got back in contact by driving to Lake Elsinore and paying one of her junior high classmates $1,000 to give her a phone he bought for her. That's what he was doing, okay? That's what he was doing. So a little over a year after her parents were investigated and cleared for child neglect, prosecutors say David ordered Celeste to Uber. So apparently she was actually cleared before her death, but because she was missing of child neglect, the family was cleared, and then the murder happened a year later. So why aren't we blaming the police for not looking into this sooner? Why are we blaming the family for not doing enough Facebook posts when really the police should have done more? The police went to David's house and told him about this, and then they did fuck all for like a whole year and a half, until she was found dead, all right? So again, I just want to redirect your attention to this one as well. There was a post that was going around a few days ago, and I drew attention to this before, but I want to do it again in context of the hate towards the family, the astroturfing going on by what I believe is David's team. It says, David was contacted by Celeste's family. Despite knowing she was dead and her family was trying to find her, the evidence will show defendant lied and claimed he didn't know where she was. So you got to be really careful with the wording here. This says, despite knowing she was dead because he killed her, and her family was trying to find her, well, that we don't know. So that would suggest to me that behind the scenes, there's additional evidence to suggest that that Celeste's family either contacted David or they had made a public appeal that the prosecutors can prove that David actually saw, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to say, as a matter of fact, that David knew she was dead and that the family was trying to find her after her death. All right. And then it says the evidence will show that the defendant lied and claimed he didn't know where she was. That infers that either David was contacted directly by the family to ask where she was and he lied, or perhaps he was contacted by police on their behalf and he lied to them, or some other third party. But David knew the family was trying to find her after she was dead, and he lied. That's a fact. Okay, so you want to talk about, oh, the family didn't care. Well, it sounds like the family were trying to find her because David knew. There's evidence that will show David knew and he lied. But no one wants to talk about that, all right? So for all the people speculating the family didn't look for her and they were negligent, the evidence says otherwise, irrespective of the fact they were cleared of negligence charges. This statement shows me a worried family. Seems they were in contact with David as well to some extent, or they knew how to reach him. This aligns with a previous report from a friend of Celeste, who stated her parents asked her if they knew where Celeste was. Close friends even stated the mum would sleep on the floor of her room and lock the door so she couldn't escape. This doesn't paint a picture of a family who doesn't care about where their teenage daughter is or what she's doing. This shows me they were actively searching for her, but when you have a kid who wants to run away and they have the means to do so, enabled and encouraged by a wealthy celebrity, there's very little you can do. But rewind your mind back 20 minutes to when I was showing you that post and everyone's pointing the finger. And they're saying, oh, the family basically created the conditions for David to think he could murder her. It's their fault. They basically just set her up. Crazy, right? People that have replied clearly don't understand the legal talk. They would have added that part in the brief if they didn't. They wouldn't have added that part in the brief if they didn't know her family had contacted him. Because if they went to trial and it comes to that never happened, the state loses a lot of credibility. This is very calculated. These people have been doing their jobs for years. They know exactly what they're doing. I'm sure a lot of people here don't know much of anything about the legal system based on the replies. This is the worst part of this sub. So many people think they know what they're talking about or super sleuths finding clues. It's painfully annoying. Think of the context of this. This is actually a post that's positive towards Celeste's family. And even this person in the top comment, they're exhausted. They're saying people in this comment don't have a clue what they're talking about because everybody's hating, right? The fact they took her phone after their first meeting and David went to her school to give her a new one. Who knows how long they were in contact while the family thought she was safe with no way to communicate between them. This shows the family was at least attentive and trying to protect her from the beginning. It also shows David was persistent in pursuing her despite their attempts to protect her and distance her from him. I feel bad about the narrative people are pushing. It was hard to keep me apart from my middle school boyfriend when we were broke pre-teens. I can't imagine the struggle of trying to keep a determined rich man with money, cars, etc. away from your daughter. Not to mention the police went and talked to him after their first meeting. Even if the family was telling police she was with David, it doesn't seem like the police would do anything unless they actually found and saw her there with him. Why aren't we pointing the finger at the police? Why aren't we pointing the finger at the police? All right. I don't know why you're getting downvotes and shitty comments. I agree. This shows they were looking for. I'll tell you why. Because this subreddit has been taken over by a bunch of clowns who are trying to do defense for David. That's why. That's exactly what's happened. That's exactly what happened. All right. That's exactly what happened. People keep posting and inferring a lot from this brief. Nowhere it says the family contacted David. They may have, but we really don't know. It says that David was made aware of the family. Yeah, that could be that the police contacted David on behalf of the worried family who had followed up with the police. There's nothing here that negates the fact that the family was trying to find her. So let's not get derailed. Let's not try and do clever tactics to try and distract from the fact that this says here in black and white, her family was trying to find her, which negates all of the speculation that these idiots are doing, saying, well, she didn't post enough on Facebook. Well, her family was trying to find her, and they either contacted David or the authorities, and David lied to either the family or the authorities, right? So basically, okay, there was clearly something, right? It means he lied to police. They're saying, we'll find out about the trial about everyone in life and shouldn't make up their minds one way or the other. You're a dumbass. So people are hating on him, right? Wasn't there missing posters for her? I'm sad that Celeste's family was being painted out to be negligent and didn't care about her whereabouts, but I'm glad the truth's coming to light. Unfortunately, I was one of the people that believes the family didn't care about where she was or what she was doing and with who. But I'm so glad this is all coming out. It further shows Celeste's family cared for her and loved her and how much of a monster David is. The Dave Idiots mods would be livid these sorts of comments are slipping through the net, right? So everyone's arguing, everyone's trying to downplay this and say that it's not really what happened. No. All right. This sub sucks, right? It was good at one point and now it's trashed. It's been taken over. Since David's arrest, it's gone down the toilet. It was good before then. And we got to find out what happened to the original moderators. But anyway, here's a recent post, right, that actually said that people were wrong for blaming Celeste's parents. Oh, look at that. It's deleted. Oh, that was 1 day ago. Oh, that was 1 day. And I saw this post going around everywhere, right? And so, good thing your boy doesn't delete everything. Over the moderators over at Dave Idiots, they would love to delete everything, right? They would love to delete everything pertaining to how it's wrong to blame Celeste's parents, but they're just deleting that, all right? They're just deleting that. So here's the truth, all right? Here's the undoctored truth. Okay, and this is somebody that kind of shares their own story. And as I said at the end of my last video, okay, people are coming up to me in the street telling me their stories and telling me, I'm glad that you're spreading the word about this, because there's been attempts to groom me. I've dealt with men that I thought were going to hurt me, and I'm glad you're spreading awareness. So I'm going to read this person's story, even though it was deleted by the mods on D4VD's, because they want to shut down any narrative that blames David, all right, and absolves Celeste's parents. So here's the post. Disclaimer, if any YouTuber or podcaster wants to share my story, you're more than welcome. Perfect, honey, I'm here for you, okay? The moderators at D4VD's, they're willing to shut you down and silence your trauma, but I'm willing to broadcast your story. I'm going to start this post with a personal anecdote. The only difference between Celeste and I is that my groomer didn't kill me. I met a guy on Call of Duty when I was 12. I thought I was infatuated with him. He told me he was 17, an aspiring photographer, and after a year of talking, he flew from Ohio to Washington, where I grew up, to finally see me in person. He would boast about the inspiration I brought to his photography, encapsulating me as his muse. To a little girl who grew up watching princess movies, we're conditioned that our existence only matters if a man allows it. I just landed, made sure to rent a car with loads of room in the back seat. Winky face. What's your address? I'm kind of nervous. You promise your parents don't know? Yes, I promise. I climbed out of my window and told my mom that I was staying at a friend's house. Meanwhile, he bought a hotel room. He did what he did to me over and over. Mom said, hey, sweetie, how are you and Sarah? When are you coming home? I made dinner. Me, can I stay with Sarah for a week, please? Her mum said she will take us to Silverwood. Mum said, sure thing, sweet pea. School is starting soon. I don't see a problem. That sounds like a lot of fun. Do you need money? What's her mum's number so I can text her? Yes, thank you, Mum. Her name is Stephanie. Here's her number. Sends the guy's number. Just like that, he had all the control and he decided the narrative. My mum knew about my so-called middle school love interest, but she didn't know who he was, where he lived, or nothing. She trusted me, and she trusted her daughter would tell her everything. She knew his name, his passions, and anything I could get away with telling her without exposing the abhorrent reality. She was excited to see I made a friend who invited me on fun adventures. We continued talking for 5 more years. He flew to Washington regularly, taking me on road trips, taking me shopping, taking me to different cheap motels, and taking advantage of me. I continued getting better and better at lying and deception, and he continued getting better at making me feel like I couldn't live without him. He wasn't 17, he was 39, married with 2 kids. Even my perception of reality wasn't real. It's my mum's fault for trusting me, for allowing me to expand my world on these adventures. I don't resent or blame my parents for what he's did to me. It's their first time living too. Nobody gets a manual to navigate life. For how were they to know when he controlled the strings? Edit, more context to the story. I was a sheltered, lonely kid when I was groomed. My mum was battling stage 3 cancer. As a mother, she couldn't take me on trips or to summer camps. She was sick, and that left her and I vulnerable. Please be kind in the comments, because predatory people prey on vulnerable people. Now, before I read the comments, I want to just acknowledge just how horrible that story was. And the amount of women that I've met that go through these kinds of things is staggering. Not just since covering this case, because women are literally, multiple women have come up to me now. I was at a bar once, one time I was just in the street, and they're telling me, I really respect what you're doing. I really like what you're doing. I think you got to keep doing it. You got to let people know. I've been through situations like this. I've dealt with men that have treated me this way. And, it's disgusting. I think it's just horrible that men behave that way. I've had girls complain to me recently about dealing with pushy men. And it's just really disappointing, and it's really sad that men behave in this way. And it's really sad that it seems like a lot of men that behave in this way seem to get ahead in life. And, for every couple girls that think it's disgusting and see through it, a lot of people will fall for it. And it's really, really sad. And, in this case, they didn't find out for 5 years. And, thank God that they didn't end up going out the same way as Celeste. Thank God that they didn't, end up in a situation where they were getting seriously harmed, or even, women that have kids and, bringing men into their lives that they shouldn't be and putting their kids potentially at harm. It's really scary. And I think it's so important to talk about these things, to spread awareness and tell people to be diligent and be careful. Don't let this sort of person into your life. But back to the topic at hand, it's the idea that Celeste was basically, being groomed by this horrible guy, David, and her family was really looking out for her. And, she lashed out at her family that were looking out at her, and she lied to them, and she snuck out. And, she unfortunately, it's not her fault. She thought she was in a whirlwind romance, just like that girl from that post talking about she thought she was talking to a cool guy. Maybe she thought he was hot. Maybe she thought he was cool, handsome, whatever. You know, she just got sucked into this just disgusting situation. And it sounds like her parents tried to help her out. And that's sad because it just seems like sometimes people are resentful for you even looking out for them. And it's just really, really sad. And it hurts me personally for sure. And I've known a lot of women who have been treated really badly and have been in situations, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of women that I've known that have been assaulted or have been treated really badly by men. And it's just messed up, man. And so the idea that it's anybody is at fault other than the disgusting man who did this is just like, it's just out the window. So blaming the family is ridiculous. Okay. Blaming the girl herself, ridiculous. Blaming anybody other than the guy who did this. Some people definitely maybe made some failures. The police maybe should have done more, but David is the person that's wrong for this. So I just want to make that really, really clear, and I just want to like broadcast these personal stories from people. So that post, that very harrowing, heartfelt, and relevant and insightful post was deleted. All right, it was deleted. Now this says it was deleted by the person who originally posted it, but I am not even sure if that's the case. I wonder, because I did see this get posted in other subreddits and it got taken down. But anyway, the post was deleted, and I think it's very unfortunate that that post is gone, that it didn't stay up. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of moderation or if this user, you know, this user is just gone forever now. But some people were kind of giving their thoughts, saying, sorry, you were groomed and went through this. I trust my kid, but your mum was not cautious enough. So now back to blaming the parents. All right, letting her 12-year-old be gone for a week with a parent she doesn't know even is crazy. I have the phone numbers to all the mums my daughter interacts with, and if they're watching my child, I call all the time. To even let you off on your own, she didn't vet the parents. There's enough documentaries on the news to understand why you have to be cautious, even if this is your mum's first time being a parent. All right, so again, it's the parents' fault now, right? No problem. All right, and so she met she met Sarah's mum multiple times. She just didn't have her number. I told my friend Sarah to lie to my mum about the trips as well. Right? Yeah, it's your mum's fault for not calling to confirm any of that bullshit. Stop enabling abusive and neglectful parenting with it's their first time being alive, because it's every child's first time being alive too, except they have a lot less. Nobody should trust a 12-year-old to be clear, just to be with another adult for a week without calling that adult. Holy shit. Right? So this person's kind of sort of giving a long diatribe of how they deal with their kids. I don't really care about that right now, but it says, I don't know how anything unfolded between Celeste and her parents, but it's terrible for anyone to be taken advantage of. My parents would have never allowed me to go on a week-long stay at 13 on a whim without confirming or verifying in person, or at least substantiating my claims of the situation. It's not about distrusting their child either. It's about being aware of the dangers around you, and my parents were fully aware. As a hormonal 13-year-old, I was highly incapable of understanding the actual reality of the potential harm I could be putting myself in while being left to my own devices with limited perceptions of the world. You having lied to your mum about who you were meeting with in the first place is an example of that. People saying, I'm so sorry this happened to you. This is my worst fear for my nieces and my own future kids. The world is a scary place for girls. This is all it really comes down to, and these men need to be held accountable. They know right from wrong. The men need to be held accountable. It's the men that need to be held accountable, right? People saying the parent failed her. They're saying, in what world are you still 12? Call the other parent. Call the damn other parent and go around their house. Don't be passive. You don't just let your small child run around. Yeah, as soon as your mum heard about your middle school love interest is when she should have stepped in. That was a separate thing, all right? That was a separate thing. She should have asked to meet him or the parents or anything. Instead, she should have let you go out with a person she didn't know. She knew Sarah and Sarah's mum. She met them multiple times. She thought she was just going over Sarah's house, okay? So this is the thing, right? Everyone's blaming the mother. I'm really surprised there's not more comments talking about this creep 39-year-old man who pretended he was 17 and groomed this little girl. This is why this subreddit is compromised, right? Because they deleted the post. Everyone's blaming the parent, all right? Tell me you're a parent. Tell me you aren't a parent without telling me you aren't a parent. How did you get back home? It's so scary. Did he get caught? Yeah, he's in prison now. He would drop me off back at home once he decided to go back to Ohio. I find it scarier now because it didn't even occur to me that he could have killed me. So everyone's blaming the parents, right? The parents are 100% to blame. Forget everything else and consider the Uber trip itself on a school night from her home that led to her demise. Where were they? Where were they when Celeste was getting taken advantage of at 10 by a family friend, Gustavo Morales? Where were they when Celeste was drinking alcohol at home and arguing with neighbors outside the house during a time she was supposedly still missing? That's child neglect and abuse, and they should be charged. David should be getting off scot-free, and the parents should be charged. It's ridiculous narratives that are being put across here, right? This is such a good point, and you never, ever hear these arguments. The millionaire targeting a daughter from a low-income household to blame. That's exactly who's to blame. Are Beyonce's parents to blame for Beyonce being groomed by Jay-Z? That's a hot one. I'm not going to lie. That was a hot one. What about those high school children that R. Kelly targeted? That's a fact. And so many disgusting people, because when they do this for R. Kelly and they say, or even Michael Jackson, when they say, oh, the parents, they wanted their kid to get with R. Kelly. They wanted their kid to get with Michael Jackson. Like, that's so not true. That's so not true. It's so unlikely. And even if you believe that the parents were trying to get their kids groomed by a celebrity so they could get some kind of payout or settlement, which is ridiculous. All these people in here telling me about their parental instincts, yet they're willing to believe that a parent would willingly let their child get groomed by an adult celebrity is just ridiculous. But on top of that, the people that are basically saying like, oh, it's the parents. No, R. Kelly is a piece of shit. He should be in jail. Michael Jackson was a PDF file. I don't care what anyone says. He should be in jail. He had a whole fun fair in his backyard, knowing exactly what he was doing. But it's the parent. No, let's lock up the parents. And Michael Jackson could just keep doing what he's doing. He could just keep doing what he's doing until somebody with good parents comes along and doesn't let it happen. It's ridiculous. Okay. So this is a long comment. But this does actually look like a gold comment. So it says, people are saying it shows a history of neglect. There are a lot of kids in Lake Elsinore hanging out all the time, consuming alcohol and drugs. You wouldn't dare walk on the same side of the street as them. Anyway, this comment's interesting. It says, a child doesn't have the same power, money, mobility, or experience, or emotional control as an adult or a successful public figure. So when people say, where were her parents, they're skipping over the most important part of the story, which is that predators do not need perfect conditions to exploit a child. They look for vulnerability, they create secrecy, they use attention and manipulation, and they slowly separate the child from the adults who might protect them. And this is why the conversation becomes so dangerous when people start blaming the family instead of focusing on the person with power. Celeste came from a lower income family. David was a famous musician with money, fame, industry access, travel, a Tesla, a record deal, a fan base, and a level of freedom most ordinary families could never compete with. Even if you believe her family made mistakes, there's still a massive difference between a struggling family failing to fully protect a child and a powerful person allegedly exploiting a child. One is a family living under pressure with limited resources, and the other is an adult or near adult figure with money, influence, access, and the ability to manipulate a child's life in ways that her family may not have even fully understood. That's the entire point of child protection laws and grooming research. Children can be manipulated into believing abuse is love, attention, romance, rebellion, or escape. That doesn't make the abuse consensual. It means the grooming worked. And when people say a 10-year-old can't be allowed to move freely without supervision, they're right about only one thing. A 10-year-old needs protection, but the failure of society, schools, platforms, adults, communities, and systems to protect a vulnerable child does not erase the responsibility of the person who allegedly targeted her. Because if your first instinct is to blame the poor family instead of the wealthier, more powerful person accused of exploiting the child, you're not asking for accountability, you're shifting accountability away from the person with the most power. Predators often rely on exactly this kind of victim blaming. They rely on people saying the child was troubled, the parents were absent, the neighborhood was bad, or the family should have known better. The framing turns the child's vulnerability into an excuse for a predator's behavior. You can talk about supervision, you can talk about family stress, you can talk about the failures around Celeste, but when those conversations become a way to blame her family more than the person with power, money, access, and alleged control over her, there's no longer concern for children. This is victim blaming dressed up as accountability. That comment summarizes exactly what's going on in D4VD's, right? Absolutely everything that's going on in this subreddit is summed up there. And the fact that these comments just became, an absolute war zone and just people basically saying that the girl who's giving her experience, saying that her mother is responsible, I think is wrong, right? And imagine a post with this much engagement going around. Basically, like, for this to get taken down is absurd, right? And this sort of discussion is not allowed on the D4VD's subreddit anymore. So there's another post that claimed that Celeste's parents failed her, and I just think it's just disgusting, right? There's just this is allowed, this is completely fine, but anything positive about the family is not allowed. Celeste's parents failed her, now she's dead. Whoever isn't at least suspicious of Celeste's parents is ignorant, and those defending the parents are insane. Trapmore Ross, talk to some loving parents and stop defending people who let their kids get murdered. Why don't you stop running defense for a murderer and a PDF? Are you a PDF? Because I feel like the way you're defending a PDF and like pointing the blame on the family like they was all asking for it is disgusting, and I feel like you actually might be some sort of creep. Okay, and it's an 18+ profile. I ain't even gonna click on that. All right. But name and shame needs to be in effect. Intervention means the problem is already out of control. That's a reaction to something which has already occurred. If you're reacting, it's too late. Sleeping on the floor of your child's room so they don't escape means you let it get too far. So basically what these people are saying is, oh, the parents were neglectful. But when you're faced with proof the parents actually cared and wanted to stop this, i.e. her sleeping on the floor, oh, it means you already let it get too far. All right? Disgusting. This person should be ashamed of themselves. Getting tattoos and running away with an adult is too late. That child's already in dangerous situations and at risk of abuse, substances, violences, and all the nasty things that happen when perverts find out how to separate kids from the people protecting them. This person commenting is a pervert protector. They're a pervert helper, all right? Because it's like, it's too late. The child's already at risk. This is what happens when so this is what happens. You're in the wrong for allowing perverts just out here. And if you let a pervert just find out what you got going on and just get your kid, that's on you. You kind of like, you know, we can't blame the pervert. Pervert gonna pervert, right? Right? No, it's ridiculous. Okay, I think this person is likely a pervert. It says, how do you let any of that happen without doing everything you can to make sure your child's safe? What, like literally running to the convenience store and getting CCTV before the cops can even do it because you're so concerned? What, like getting the cops out 3 times in a day and telling them to go to the convenience store and get the CCTV tapes and find out where the girl's gone? Sounds like they did a lot to me, right? And why the F isn't the dad busting down doors and carrying that girl back home after she was found by the cops? Do you think they knew where David lived? I don't think they knew where David lived. I don't know if the cops were under any obligation to say, we did a welfare check at this property and she wasn't there and the guy told us he didn't know what was going on, but we're just going to give you his address so you can go and kick in the door. I don't think that's how the cops work, honestly. I wish that they would have given David's address and Celeste's dad could have gone and kicked in the door. If I would have known what was going on, I would have gone and kicked in the door. I'd have smacked the brakes off of David if I'd known this was really what was going on. If I knew this was actually going on to a child that was in my life. I'm not the biggest, toughest, most gangster guy in the world, but you're getting dog shit slapped out of you for doing shit like this, bro. If I actually knew him in real life while this was going on, I would have taken action, right? I don't think they knew his address. I think it was all a bit confused and convoluted. They're wondering where their daughter is. They're getting told a bag of lies. How do you let things get this far? Are you willfully ignorant, lazy, don't really want kids, just bad parents? These people absolutely need to be held accountable for letting their little girl get swooped off by a PDF to die a slow death before being chopped up in a trunk to rot. This commenter is one of the most disgusting people I could possibly imagine. They need to be held... Just listen to this sentence. They need to be held accountable for letting their little girl get swooped off by a PDF. I'm sorry, but like... absolutely not. No. No. How far do you want to take it? I mean, the CEO of Uber should be held accountable for letting this little girl get swooped off by a PDF to die a slow death. The CEO of Uber should be held accountable. What are you talking about, bro? What, because he Ubered her there? Jeff Bezos needs to be held accountable because he delivered 2 chainsaws to this PDF's house. Should have known better. Should have known. It was too late. It's ridiculous. The single most culpable person is David, who allegedly murdered her. All right? They could have prevented this, but the choices they made instead facilitated her tragic end. Not true. All right? If a child really wants to run away, they will. You can only do so much. They took her phone away, slept in a room, blah, blah, blah. So in the face of actual evidence, it's blah, blah, blah. If you think this, you probably don't have kids. Return to the beginning of the post and read it again. This person's disgusting, right? This person's disgusting. And I think this person is likely a pervert. Or working for David, or both. Is likely. So basically, somebody is defending in the comments. Having worked with at-risk teens, it's really not as easy as people think. Should they have done more? Yes, probably. But it's not as though they were doing nothing. There were many, many failures from a lot of people, teachers, classmates, authorities, family, etc. But it represents more of a systemic failing, in my opinion. They took away her phone to try and prevent her from communicating with David, and David effing paid another kid to give her one. They reported her missing to the police. They searched for her at some point. What were they supposed to do? Lock her in the room with no means of escape? Which they did. That would be abusive. And she would still need to leave to go to school either way, and something like that would likely push her towards David even more. The main thing missing, I believe, is education for both parents and kids involved in what grooming looks like and how dangerous it can be. Most predators are fantastic at making themselves seem like safe people, safe places, and manipulation, and don't seem like predators unless you know what to look for. I get it. It's scary to think that parents doing their best could have led to this, and it's easier to direct anger towards them rather than realize that even those trying their best cannot be doing enough. It's possible that they were more involved or paid off, but there's been no evidence suggesting that. And if evidence of that comes to light, I'll change my thoughts. Right? The parents actually did make a statement saying they had no contact with David or received any payments, but people seem to like spreading this narrative with no proof. These people, the mods of r/Dave idiots, that they're really pushing the narrative that is just forget about David. It's the parents. This sentence actually just spun me. These people need to be held accountable for letting their little girl get swooped off by a PDF. I'm actually gonna break something if I keep going. So I'm just gonna show you one more post and I'm gonna wrap it up. All right. So this is a recent post. I'm just gonna make my blood boil. This is another post pointing all the blame at the people that the Celeste family. That's apparently who deserves all the blame. All right. I need to vent about this situation. All these posts are just coming out of nowhere running defense for David, right? It's disgusting. I think it's David's team trying to put the blame on the family, and I think they're going to try and run that in court to get him off. And I think if there's a swell of public support and the jury's tainted by this, I think that they might actually have a shot. This is part of an operation to give David his only shot at beating this case. I just want you to understand that, how important this is. So I need to vent about this situation. I have so much to say about this entire situation and the people involved. The literal only victim is Celeste. Let's make that very clear. I'm an angry man. David's whole career is so cringe. He's nothing more than a try-hard edgelord. His lyrics are what an immature loser would consider to be deep. His anime persona is so lame and not even original. I think they're hating on David at the start of this to try and fly under the radar, because this is actually constructed by people supporting David. It sounds like an uber mediocre anime from the 2000s. The icing on the cake is he can't even sing. Again, all this is making him seem harmless rather than a PDF murderer, what he allegedly is. Like most people, I'd never heard of this guy until the case became known, and when I finally heard a piece of his music, I couldn't believe my ears. He's awful. Anyway, David wasn't famous before this trial. He was known on Reddit and TikTok. That's not fame. He wasn't a household name. I really wish people would stop calling him famous. This is a Trojan horse to make it seem like they don't like David. But again, they're only gunning at his career, saying they don't like his music. They're not talking about him being a PDF, which is the problem. He was famous. He had billions of streams. This is a Trojan horse because they're attacking David on the most loose angles that you could attack him with. I don't give a fuck about his music, good or bad, meh, mid, whatever. The problem with David, the reason I don't like David, is because he is a PDF file. Okay, so this is a Trojan horse. They're letting it fly under the radar, making it say, oh, well, look, clearly this isn't by David's team, because they're hating on David, but they're hating on him on the most superficial terms rather than the genuinely disgusting, depraved things he's done. There's not an adult with working eyesight that thought Celeste was anywhere near being legal aged. That child looked every bit of 13, along with David. Obviously, every adult who was around the two of them together needs to be charged, every single one. I will never have an ounce of sympathy for Celeste's parents. They did nothing to protect her. Cap, I've explained to you in this video exactly how they did try. They were literally running down the street trying to get surveillance footage. To all of you who use she kept running away as an excuse, never reproduce. So they took her phone. Whoop-de-damn-do. See, it's like, when you're given facts, yeah, but they took her phone. It's whoop-de-damn-do. This doesn't mean anything, right? PDF protector. They never filed statutory charges against David. That's cap, because the police were knocking on the door, right? Police didn't do enough for sure. They knew she was with him. No one ever showed up to his house ready to whoop his ass for messing with her. I doubt they knew where he was living, and he was traveling all over the world constantly, and he had 2 homes. I've seen personally what family does when they find someone messing with a child. I've watched as the men and my great-grandma beat the shit out of a family friend for trying to mess with my cousin. They happily told the police what they did and why. That's what real concerned family members do. The fact is, they didn't give a damn about Celeste and showed it all through her life. They reported her missing, but never... This is the thing. They didn't give a damn, except they reported her missing, and they were on the phone with the police every single month, and when she ran away, they had literally... The police called out 3 times and they were getting surveillance footage themselves before the investigation took place. But they never filed charges against the grown-ass man she was with. They spoke to the police every single month. And the cops failed. The cops failed them, right? And there was an investigation because Celeste was the star witness in an investigation against David. And that's why he's got special conditions. So you don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about, right? She went out the country with him. There's no way around needing parental consent for that. Now, I would like to know more information about that because we don't know at this stage if David faked that. David could have faked parental consent. I don't know if it's just a little bit of printed paper that you have to show to fly a minor out the country. I don't know. Stop with the conspiracies of fake passports and whatnots. David didn't need to do any of that when the parents weren't fighting him to begin with. Every adult in this situation is garbage and not one singular person cared about the child who lost her life. No. One person. One person is bad, David. And the family did care about her. These people saying you should never reproduce, bro, you don't even know what it's like to lose a child. You have no idea, all right? Absolutely no idea. So people are saying the parents should have tried harder. And again, it's just very convoluted, long replies that I just feel like, you know, I just feel like this is all an operation by David's team to sully the waters. All right. And some people are arguing, okay, Celeste traveling papers were likely forged. All it takes is a notarized letter. At least one person in David's life is a notary. They did report her missing to police. Police knew she'd run away to David. I doubt they told her exactly where she was. And they said they went there and she wasn't there. Okay. More people should be charged. There are no charges that should be brought. No charges to be brought against the parents in California. They reported her missing. Authorities went to his house more than once. Police returned to her parents' house. David lured her to the house one last time. The parents' punishment is what they have to live with now. If they didn't report him for statutory R word, they didn't do enough. Not even close. Ridiculous, right? Downvote. I'm honestly, I actually can't do this anymore. I'm so upset. I've been so upset and like personally affected by this case. Like it's affected me. It's affected my personal life. Like it's affected my relationships, I feel. And it's just like so sad. I just really just hope that like spreading awareness about this can just at least like if one person learns about the David case through my videos and realizes like, wait, this guy that I met online is talking to me kind of weird. I should be careful. If I can protect like one person from a creep, then I'm happy. Okay, like this actually was worth it. If I can just literally just one person can be like, yo, like I learned about the David shit from Traplaw Ross watching all those videos and like, damn, I realized someone was running some game. I realized, look, I just want to keep people, either people in my life or even just random people that are online. I want to keep you guys safe from predators, okay? Creeps, predators, pushy, disgusting men. All I want to do is keep people safe. And I get so much shit for it. And it's just like tiring and depressing and just, I'm actually just over it. I'm low key, like, I'm just like, bro, like, I think what I'm doing is important. And when I stopped talking about this case for a bit, a lot of people followed up with me and they said, no, this is really important. Don't stop. Like, keep your foot on David's neck. He would love you to stop talking about this and also just keep spreading awareness for what's going on. This is a really important topic. People said the same thing about the Epstein thing. They said it's really important. Little girls are literally being put in danger every day by people like this, and there's other Epsteins out there. So I really just want to protect women from, and children and kids and girls and just anyone, even little boys, right? From this kind of just disgusting behavior. Just creeps, all right? Just letting a creep into your life is just such a bad idea. I just find it disgusting and triggering and just gross and fucked up. And I think I'm done talking about this now. I'm just so tired of this stuff. But I think David Idiots is part of an operation to clean this up for David. And I think David's best chance of beating this is to somehow shift all the blame, public perception of the blame onto the family. And basically make it out that it was just like the parents just let their kid run wild, run riot. And like, you know, she could have Ubered anywhere and he didn't do it. And he was texting her and also, honestly, like it's not going to, I'm praying that it's not going to work, but I think that's what they're doing. But anyway, ladies, gentlemen, especially ladies and girls, like stay diligent. Look out for these creeps. Doesn't matter what they say to you, what they offer you. Whatever. Anyway, that's the end of the video. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. I'm tired. I'm over it today. It's been enough. It has been enough for me. Catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.